How could you forget Jesus? But do you remember Jesus like he told us to? Jesus said, "Remember me together." Good morning and welcome to 755 Live. For about 5 minutes, you'll hear all about easy to remember soundbite versions of what Jesus said. And the point is to help you experience life to the fullest the Jesus way. Today's Jesus Said comes from Luke 22, 19 through 20, also Matthew 26, 26 through 27. And you can find these commands of Jesus every weekday at our Bible plan at bible.today.church. And we'll be just reading from Luke today and reading in the New Living Translation, Luke 22, beginning with verse 19. Then he took bread, and after giving thanks, he broke it and gave it to them, saying, "This is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." And in the same way, he took the cup after they had eaten, saying, "This cup is poured out, or this cup that is poured out for you, is the new covenant in my blood." Now, if you've been around church or Christianity for any length of time, this is probably very familiar to you. But the question is, what's the real point here? Why did Jesus do this the night before he was crucified? This was preparation day. It wasn't a Passover Seder, or the next day would have been a Sabbath, and there's some detail there that we're not going to get into. That's not the point today. The soundbite today, "Remember Me Together," is about what Jesus instituted on this night. Now, we call this a sacrament. We call it communion. The definition of communion is an act or instance of sharing, and by implication, sharing something sacred. Now, in some traditions, and I'm not pointing fingers, but in many traditions, this ritual is performed with fancy things, shiny gold cups, custom-made wafers, pomp and circumstance, robes, and that sort of thing. In some tradition, it's all about convenience. Those little plastic containers with little juice and thing that's hard to open, and that little round something that tastes like styrofoam. If you know what I'm talking about, you know. But have we missed the point of what we are really to remember? You see, it's really about serving. And this night wasn't very shiny. I mean, just think about this. It was a bunch of homeless guys who traveled from place to place in the first century. And no one was even willing to wash feet, which was a servant's job. So Jesus did it. And we sometimes forget that Jesus didn't just break the bread. He served them. He gave it to them. The King of all creation, as a servant. Paul talks about this in 1 Corinthians 11, 21, 22. And Paul reminds this church in Corinth of that actual night, okay? And he says, "Now when you come together at the same place, you are not really eating the Lord's Supper. For when it is time to eat, everyone proceeds with his own supper. One is hungry, and another becomes drunk." Now, Paul is about to make a point here about what this is really about. He drives home the point in verse 33. He says, "So then, my brothers and sisters, when you come together to eat," and by implication, this is the Lord's Supper, "wait for one another." Wait, like a waiter. See, communion isn't about being served. It's about serving, sharing, waiting on one another, because we remember that Jesus did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. It's not about the ritual. It's about why we are doing what we are doing. Now, over the last year or so, we've started having communion every Sunday and then every week at house church and house churches. I've had communion more in the last year than in my entire life. And it's meaning more and more each time. because it's a reminder that we are together as the body of Christ because of what Jesus did. And it's not about the ritual. It's about remembering him, and that way we treat one another better, because it is about serving. It is about putting someone else above yourself. Not just a ritual, but serving. Jesus said, remember me together. How can you put that into action today? Thank you so much for listening. If this is meaningful to you, it does mean a lot when you like it, when you share it, when you comment. I really appreciate you, and I hope that you have an amazing day. And I hope this time together has helped you live life to the fullest, the Jesus way. And remember, follow Jesus today. Love first.